You are listening to Larry Conners, USA.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
This is Larry Conners USA. Larry Conners USA.
I woke up this morning, got myself a gun. Mama always said I'd be the chosen one.
Do you take responsibility for the chaos that's unfolding?
Of course I take responsibility. I'm president, but it was horrible what to see, as you saw. To see people treated like they did, horses barely running them over, people being strapped, it's outrageous. I promise you those people will pay. They will be, an investigation underway now, and there will be consequences. There will be consequences.
There is President Biden holding a news conference today, pushing the booster shots, but in taking questions dealt with the Border Patrol agents, those mounted Border Patrol agents that were seen on horses with Haitian refugees, trying to corral them, basically, and keep them in one area, slapping at them with the long reins they have on their horses to keep them from getting too close to the horse to either interfere with the agent or the horse or endanger themselves because the horse might kick at them or step on them. But the story has been misrepresented, continues to be misrepresented, and now the President of the United States, no surprise, buys into the lie that they were using whips against Haitians. They were not using whips, and they were not beating anybody. They're just trying to get them away from the horse. Do not let the facts interfere with the good story the libs are telling. This is September 24, 2021. So Biden did say, I take responsibility for the mess at the border. No, he did briefly, but then quickly moved into blaming the Border Patrol for whipping Haitians trying to enter the country. Not a fact, but it does fit the leftist narrative. And the weapon is, the video is certainly weaponized. Even Al Sharpton made a trip to the border because Haitians are involved. And Haitians are black. And Al Sharpton sees an opportunity. That's why he went to the border. And a lot of people didn't like him being there and yelled at him. This is not a racist issue. Del Rio, Texas is not racist. Get out of here. By the way, most of those Haitians have not been living in Haiti. They've either been in South or Central America because they'd already escaped from Haiti. They had asylum in other countries at this point, but they decided it looks like the Biden administration is going to let everybody in, so we're just going to go ahead and gather. 15,000 plus gathered under that bridge at one time. Conditions horrific. Biden takes responsibility for that too, does he? Now they've moved them out. We don't know where they sent them. They're not telling us. Now here's a racist issue. New York City, you have to show documents before you can enter a restaurant if you're going to dine indoors. Mayor Bill de Blasio put that in effect. You have to vaccination documentation that you have a vaccine and have had it before you can enter a restaurant. New York State data shows 85% of the blacks in the state are not vaccinated. Another report shows 75% of blacks in New York City ages 18 to 54 are not vaccinated. Is that racist? Well, former New York Congressman John LeBoutier will be joining us later. I'm going to ask him about his thoughts on that question and the immigration questions and the issues. John LeBoutier always identifies himself as a Reaganite, not a Trump supporter. We'll get his view on all of this. And what about service members refusing the vaccination? Should they be allowed to do so? Or should you follow the leftist agenda that if they refuse, they should get a dishonorable discharge? Dishonorable, which amounts to a felony and follows on the rest of their life. Also a guest today, Chris Bedford from the Federalist. He says Catholic bishops bear responsibility for a lot of the immigration crisis. We'll get into that. And a new scandal involving Hunter and Daddy. Dems ignoring, of course, this story like they do all stories like this. Just like they said originally, the computer laptop story about Hunter Biden, as reported by the New York Post, was not true. Now they've admitted, yeah, that was true, but the election's over now. We're all good. And Maricopa County finished recounting ballots, and they say the results stand. All they did was recount the same ballots. They didn't go through verification. That's the issue. Oh, and here's something that is almost funny. VP Harris won't go anywhere, but she was going to go on The View with the ladies of The View. Apparently, word coming down that the host had to be rushed off stage. They've all been fully vaccinated, but then they tested positive for COVID. We got a lot to cover. Lock and load. Ready on the right.
You can email Larry at LarryConnersUSA@gmail.com. LarryConnersUSA@gmail.com.